Bihar called Programa Foundation Academy. And yes, I've been learning a lot through these fellowship and talking to all of you here, present here. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Looking forward to the session though.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll hear about both Educators for Equality and what the rotational fellowship is in a little bit. But I think the team has prepared a quick activity for us. So we'll just jump into that.
Thanks, Amina. Okay, so I know it has been a long day for all of us, and this is probably the last call that you all are attending for the day. So just wanted to do a quick temp check. How you all are feeling? आप लोग कैसे महसूस कर रहे हो when you are stepping in this call today? So just want you to take a look around you and think about or see or notice that one particular object could also be a living thing as well that is making you feel present today. And if you can also quickly share that in the chat box in the next 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, Sridhini says my water bottle. Great. Sharon says my kitten in my lap. Amazing. Very cute. Okay, a lot of water bottle. Keep drinking water as well. Just don't look at the water bottle. Okay, cup of chai, wind from my room, smell of freshly washed clothes, correct. Chai, kits for projects, thank you. We'll wait for a couple more responses. My earphones, blankets, saving me from cold. Yes, absolutely. All the Delhi and North Indians who are facing the death cold, keep your blankets close to you. Very, very important. Okay, all right. We will keep sharing about this notebook. Okay, Sahil says the visiting from London. Okay, person's convocation, very important. Okay, someone says plants. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And you can keep sharing on the chat box. And at any point of time, you feel like, okay, this is getting a little heavy, feeling a little exhausted, tired. Also, do share that in the chat box, and it's absolutely okay to share that. And like all of you, like a lot of you shared that, you know, you're keeping chai, coffee in front of you or a bottle of water, like keep drinking them and do whatever it takes for you to be present today during the next few few hours that we are going to spend with each other. Yeah, with that I'll quickly hand it over to Amina again to do the introduction before we jump into the session.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out the time in today evening. Today is the first day of a two-part workshop that Educators for Equality and the Rotational Residence Fellows, which is the fellowship that the Teach for India, and the Circle India conducts. The fellows as well as E4E has put this two-part workshop together to really understand what is the role of a teacher when it comes to including and creating a more conducive learning environment for children across whatever is the spectrum of their identities, their learning preferences, their religious backgrounds, caste, financial backgrounds, everything. What is the role that teachers can play to actually make a conducive environment for each child? Education for Equality, that is the vision with which they have started to make more conducive learning environments. They work on largely 3 levels with children directly to make sure that they are reflective about their identities and have a better relationship with understanding where it is that they place themselves. They work with teachers, which is a part of the work that they'll be doing today, With educators, they're trying to understand how can we empower teachers with tools they need to make inclusive classrooms. And lastly, they're also working on a very exciting inclusivity curriculum so that they can really impact systems to have a better inclination and a more empowered inclination towards inclusivity in their classrooms. The rotational fellows have supported in designing this workshop. These are three very enthusiastic and passionate teaching fellows who've been for the past 1 year. They've been doing 3-month immersions in 3 different learning spaces. They are in Yellow Train, and Vaishnavi is in Shikha Academy right now, but they've been in amazing schools like Riverside in the past, as well as going around the country and understanding what is it that we can learn from high quality and innovative learning spaces and bring it to contexts that need it the most. Just handing it over to the team. A few norms for today. We will largely feel free to put any questions and notes on the chat, and we'll take it up. We have designed this session in a way that it's interactive. You'll be put in breakout rooms at some point, and it'll be great if you can all just bring your A game, interact with each other, and take away the most from this session. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amina. And we will quickly move. For today's session, first just wanted to share what are we going to cover throughout the next 1 hour, 15 minutes that we have with each other. So today's session, we're going to move, we're going to look at the conceptual parts more in terms of what it really means to observe with equity and understanding. And how do we observe with a lens of inclusion when we are talking about all children in classrooms? Because in our classrooms, as we all know, there are children who has different kinds of diversity in terms of their learning style, learning outcomes. There are also identity-based differences as well. But keeping all of that in mind, how do we observe everyone with a lens of inclusion? And at the end, in the last few minutes, we will also learn and practice how to do it actively. Yeah, so we'll share a couple of tools with you as well. So that is the day probably going to look like. For the first part, we also have some norms, and I'm going to quickly share them with all of you. Since we are going to learn together, there can be different perspectives in this group. So just requesting all of you and inviting all of you to be open to perspectives and learning, and keep sharing them, as Amina also shared previously, in the chat box in forms of thoughts, questions, ideas. And just also, even if there is a difference between your perspective and another person's perspective, just we'll make sure that we communicate with utmost honesty and respect, but also challenge ourselves and others, because when we do that, we also learn and get introduced to new ideas. And while we are sharing, just if we can also be mindful of our time a little bit, because we have limited time with each other to spend, and we have to cover a lot. So yeah, just a couple of norms. Do you all agree with that? Are we all on the same page? If you all can share couple of thumbs up, that will be great. Then I can move on. Okay, thank you. I can see a few thumbs up. Great. Thank you so much. With that, we'll also move. Okay, so the first activity that we have is, I'm going to show you a picture which you can already see on this screen. I want all of you to take independently 2 minutes and observe this picture and note down what all are happening here, or what all you are seeing here, in this classroom setup. Yeah, so we'll take 2 minutes to independently look at the picture and note it down for ourselves. You can also take mental notes, that's okay. तो हमने एक पिक्चर रखा है स्क्रीन पे हम 2 मिनट लेंगे अपने आप के साथ और हम समझने की कोशिश करेंगे कि क्या हो रहा है इसमें पिक्चर में. We'll take 30 more seconds to come back and just bring ourselves back. Great. Thank you, Madhu, for sharing that you are done. All right. So we'll open the space for all of you to share. You can also share in the chat box and also come off mute and share. And while you were thinking about this picture, I want all of you to share what did you observe? इसमें क्या हो रहा है? What all are happening here? Yeah. Would love to hear from some participants. You can also raise your hands if you want to share. Okay. Lata ma'am is sharing informal setting of classroom, collaboration activity. Manohar sir is sharing some children are there, differentiated learning space with different ways of learning. Great. Usha ma'am has raised hand. Usha ma'am, please go ahead. Please share.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Students are learning with their own way, actually. Their own learning is going on in their own space, actually. And fun-based activity learning is going on in behind the space. We can see the teacher is there, one guide is there, and like fun-based activity learning is going on there. And the learning is overall child-focused learning, maximum the things.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's
Usha ma'am. I'm also seeing some more responses on the chat box. Happy children, teacher support, specific attention for certain students alone. Great. Would love to hear from one more person on the mic, if they can unmute and share. Someone is sharing print-rich classroom with lots of charts. Amazing. Okay. So Lagna is sharing an inclusive classroom. There are two groups of children. First group is engaged with teachers. Second group engaged in perhaps some entertainment videos without supervision. Great. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Group of happy children, mentoring a few students. Amazing. Great. Thank you so much for all of that. Okay. Now we'll move to the next part and I will quickly pose this two question to this group. First, we already discussed, which is what observations were made. But I want all of you to now thinking about your responses, जो आपने share किया अभी chat box में हम सबके साथ. Thinking about all of that, can we think, did we interpret it or did we infer? क्या हमने जो देखा उसको interpret करा या हमने उससे अपना opinion infer करा है? What did we do? Think about what you wrote in the chat box or what you shared. And thinking about your response, just think, did we interpret or did we infer instead of observe? Or did we just observe? And I would like some people, some brave volunteers to also share. And it's okay if you like ended up interpreting or inferring, that's okay. But just want all of you to also just acknowledge that. Okay, I can see some. Okay, thank you so much. Interpreted, inferred, again interpreted. Again, correct. There is no right or wrong answer. Please share freely. Absolutely. Many of us did interpret. Great. We observed and make opinion. Okay. Thank you, sir. That's correct. Yes, interpreting, inferring. Right. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being so honest, sharing that, it was an inference rather than an observation. That's like, it takes a lot to acknowledge that as well. So thank you so much for doing that. But just want this group to also think, how do we differentiate between inference, interpretation, and observation? What is observation? If someone asks us, what is observation? What would the answer be? Like, what would this group answer to that question? What is observation according to you? Just note. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Witnessing what is as is. What we see is what we write. Absolutely correct. It is unbiased, non-judgmental.
Go ahead, Navedita. It's okay.
Yes.
Share.
Share.
No, I was wondering, like, we could also take example from the same picture and say, like, what would observation of that image of classroom look like? वो जो classroom का photo है, उसमें specifically अगर observe करते तो क्या देखते?
Correct. Someone wants to try that, that will be great as well. But I'm seeing a lot of responses. Observation is being active to note what all are there. Watching carefully, no opinion. Amazing. Lata ma'am, please go ahead. Please share.
Hi. According to me, observation would be just noting what I see without any personal opinion. So I will just say I can see a teacher sitting around children doing their work individually. I can see 3 kids sitting on a sofa with their laptop. I will not say ki I'm giving individual attention or the classroom is as per, different needs of the kids. Nothing like that. I will only observe what I can see on that picture. Like I can see a window, I can see a few charts displayed, I can see learning material around. That's it. So an observation is just basically what I see without any interpretation or opinion from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. And absolutely that, right? Like if we also go about defining what is observation, and look at the definition of observation, it's about noticing facts and taking measurements, looking at, looking at things more than a quick glance, but not just seeing, but also like the meaning of observation, which came from the word observer in Latin, is to attend to, just seeing with attention. It's just not a glance, just more than that, but also not forming opinion. It's between both of that. So you see and you attend to that particular phenomena that's happening, right? So you seeing and you need to just pay attention. Now, we like this group actually was very on point with that. But what are some words that that really comes to your mind when you hear the word observation? And now I want you to also think about observing in a classroom or observation in a classroom context. What are some words that come to your mind when you hear the word observation? And I want some quick responses in the chat box. Notice, look closely. Yes, absolutely. You can think from your own classrooms as well. Seeing carefully, attention, document, okay. Watching, checking things attentively, attentiveness.
Pratyek, can I probe?
Yes.
So when we are saying attention, document, attentiveness, हम क्या document कर रहे हैं? थोड़ा अगर हम और specific answers दे सके, it would be lovely. Being present, तो किस चीज में? What are those things?
Okay, actions in the classroom. Whose actions do we observe in the classroom? If we be more specific, emotion, behavior, students, okay, patterns. Ma'am says both students and teachers. And again, it can differ, right? Like if you are currently teaching as a teacher, then probably it's most likely that you will observe students. And if you are like a teacher coach or a teacher trainer who also works with the teachers, they might also observe teacher action. So depending on which capacity you are working currently with the classroom, also defines what are the things that you will observe. Yeah. But thank you so much again for the response. Just wanted to quickly share, in the education context, what are the types of observation that we usually see. So there can be two types of observation, and I'm sure like all of you are teachers, all of you are also teacher trainers, principals, have been working in classroom context for a while. So like there are two kinds of observation that probably most likely in most cases happen. One that is open-ended observation, which is very broad, very exploratory, where you look at different methods to just observe the students and the teachers. And there are also very structured observation that you also conduct in a classroom. Now, structured observation can be more focused on a particular aspect of the classroom. It can be different criteria that you are looking for in a classroom. Also, like, could be very number driven sometimes. So there are two types of observation that we usually see. Yeah. So are we on same page till now? Like, do we know, like, anything else that doesn't fit these two categories? Or like, do we all agree like there can be just two broad areas of observation? Okay. Lata ma'am shared thumbs up. Okay. Great. I'm assuming, okay, example, okay, okay, got it. Yes, I will give you example in the next slide as well. So open-end observation is mostly when, like the word suggests, right? It's very open. So you do not go with a predetermined criteria in your mind what you want to observe, right? Like definitely there are certain things. For example, if you're going in a classroom, you will definitely observe how the teaching is happening, how the teachers, students interacting and all of that, but you do not have specific aspects in mind, specific structures in mind that you want to observe. So you can look for stories, you can look for anecdotes, you also can, look for, what are the students sharing. So versus student response or like teacher response. So it's very open in it. So there are no questions that you have decided in your mind when you are going for that observation. Whereas in the structured observation, what we see is there are predefined criteria. So, for example, you want to see behavior in the classroom. So that's an aspect that you have in your mind that you want to go and observe. Now, in behavior, you also will have certain criterias while looking at behavior. So, how the classroom is managed, how the students are responding, is there any disruption in the classroom or not. So there are very structured thoughts that you are going with when you are going to do a structured observation. So some tools that we probably use while going with a structured observation could be a questionnaire that we go with, or could be a rubric that we use. So all structures are in place. Yes, rubric as well. So all of that, yeah. So you have a very focused idea in sorry. You have a very focused idea in your mind what you want to observe in that classroom. Yeah. Is it clear now? Are the examples fitting? Someone wants to give another example? Yes. Tinuka ma'am, yes, you want to share?
Hi, I'm Penuka. I just have a quick doubt.
Yes.
Where will classroom teaching come under the within the two type of observation? Where does it lineate to mostly?
Okay. Can you be a little specific, ma'am? When you say classroom teaching, what are you actually referring to? Like the
जैसे
action
कि
of
हम
teaching?
क्लासरूम ऑब्जर्व जैसे अभी कोई आता है क्लासरूम जब टीचर पढ़ा रही होती है तो
Right.
क्लासरूम कोई ऑब्जर्व करने आता है तो
हाँ.
एक तो ये भी हो सकता है दे आर लुकिंग फॉर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ मेथड्स दैट द टीचर इज यूजिंग वो ओपन एंडेड भी हो सकता है स्ट्रक्चर्ड वो स्ट्रक्चर पे भी आ सकता है क्योंकि एक क्लासरूम टीचिंग में स्टूडेंट रिस्पॉन्सेज वो भी तो इंक्लूड होता है तो दैट कुड बी सेट इन अ क्राइटेरिया दैट कैन बी टेकन एज अ प्री डिफाइंड क्राइटेरिया ना तो मुझे समझ नहीं आया कि ये कहाँ पे आता है करके
Got it. I'll answer that definitely. Navrita, you want to share something?
Just wanted to respond to the question that is being raised
Please
also.
do.
तो एक है कि हम क्लास में गए and we saw the strategies, methods, classroom conduct, behavior, how is the classroom designed, etc. एक है कि अगर मैं किसी टीचर को मैं एक टीचर हूँ और मैं दूसरे टीचर को ऑब्जर्व करने जा रही हूँ या मैं एक टीचर हूँ जिसे बताया गया है कि we have the student who is just constantly not sitting in a place etc. तो अगर मैं किसी एक स्पेसिफिक सब्जेक्ट में या किसी एक स्पेसिफिक टीचर को ये देखने जा रही हूँ कि लेट्स से इन साइंस हाउ मेनी टाइम्स is this teacher asking higher order thinking skills like higher order thinking questions if that is the observation I am going with an intention to make then that is the structured and very specific observation. But if I'm just going in general to observe what the methods, strategies, then it's more open-ended. You may come back with like 20 different kinds of questions that don't necessarily fit with that one intentional thing. So that's what was coming to me. So I thought I'd share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lata ma'am, you want to add something?
Yeah, so I am a school leader. So I thought my way of putting it across would be when I go for school walkthroughs. So when I'm going for walkthroughs, when I enter a class, and then when I observe certain things, that is a broad observation. I'm not gone with a specific intent over there. But when I'm going into a class with an intention of observing a teacher, then I have my structured plan over there. Then I look into all the small boxes and I keep ticking and making my inferences and notes. So this way I would differentiate between the two, open-ended observation and structure. I just wanted to be sure, am I in the right page?
Yes, you are absolutely in the right path. So that is
Thanks.
absolutely what we are talking about. And like Navedita also shared, like when you have a very specific question or a problem statement in your mind while you're going for observation, that is structured observation. And when you are not going with that and going, in for a general observation, that is come under like, broad exploratory methods. Yeah. Navedita, you have any more thing to share? Okay. Got it. So we'll move forward. Now that this is a little clear, now there are two types of observation that we spoke about, and we all are school teachers, like school leaders, and working in the school system. If we can quickly share, what is the kind of observation that our education system in India mostly focusing on? Like, what is the kind of observation that you see often happening? Okay.
Structured observation.
Structured. Okay. Madhu ma'am also shared structured. We'll wait for a couple of more responses. since we have different people from different contexts, so want to also understand, okay, both. Suraj sir said open-ended, Jamuna said structured, open-ended too sometimes. Yeah, I'm not denying that, it's one or the other all the time. Both of this happens, but what happens more is my question here. क्या ज़्यादा होता है? I'm sure both of these happen too. Structured and sometimes open-ended. Structured. Great. Thank you so much. That is where I wanted to come to. Like mostly what happens in our context is that, and in most of the global context as well, if you look at the research, when a classroom observation happens, like someone comes to observe the teaching, teacher, students, it's mostly they come with a format, they come with a plan, they have a rubric or, like some structure, some questions in the plan. So most of the time, it's the structured observation. And a lot of times what happens, even if there are qualitative tools that doesn't necessarily focus a lot on numbers, but it ends up happening in most cases that the observation focus on outcomes and numbers a lot. And what it really ends up happening is that becomes the most preferred method of observation, like you all shared in the chat box, right? Sometimes open-ended observations happen, but most of the time it's structured observation that is focused, that is predefined. You come with a criteria in your mind and you observe the teachers. But my question is, are these all that we can observe in a classroom? Like when we enter a classroom, are these are the things for say methods, structures, or like whatever predefined criteria that we can think of, is that all that we can observe in a classroom? If no, I know like some of you will share no. If no, if you can also share what else can we observe in a classroom? It depends on class to class. और क्या चीजें हम observe कर सकते हैं other than numbers, other than very focused criterias? Behavior. Okay. Behavior. Can I behavior patterns? Madhu ma'am, can I invite you to share a little bit detail with the group? What do you mean by behavior patterns?
For example, if I am teaching in a classroom, so I'll check on the behavior, on the pattern as in how is the attendance of my child, how is the attendance, and also how much participation is required and how much participation is given by the student. So this can be an example.
Okay. I'll just like quickly give you a follow-up question to that. You mentioned how many students participated, how many students attended the class. Do you think it's open-ended or do you think it's structured?
That's the structured part.
So what doesn't happen here then? Like you said, yeah. You said
Yeah, like
behaviors. So if
yeah,
you
yeah.
can elaborate on that, and if not, that is also okay. We'll invite other people to share.
So behavior is it is like it depends from student to student. For example, if the attendance is low of a child, so that child will not speak probably because that child is unaware what is happening in the classroom. So this can be one situation, and like there are many situations which we see in day-to-day classroom. So basically, these are some examples which I have observed in my class.
Correct. Thank you so much, Madhu ma'am. And I think the word that you give me actually helps me to bind the next part, which is situation, right? There are situations that happens in a classroom which cannot always be defined through numbers, which cannot always be observed through predefined criteria. Now, situations can also be interpreted, can also be documented through stories. Yeah. It's one format that we define or we document situations with. Now, it can be stories, it can be other formats also, but mostly stories and anecdotes that we see in a classroom. So, like I said, I was sharing the global research is also sharing that in most cases, classroom observation heavily focus on data, numbers, and rubrics. And it sidelines the rich stories that we have or the anecdotes that we have in our classroom that actually capture the experiences of students and teachers. And when it comes to the classroom, observation or classroom experience, it's also important to see how a student is feeling, how a teacher is feeling in that classroom, how they're experiencing the whole teaching learning process. So that's also very important information for us to capture, which doesn't really necessarily happen all the time in our context. Yeah. Now it can be done by teachers, it can be done by teacher coaches, school leaders, um, to just collect these anecdotes, collect these records to determine the types of learning experience that are happening. That can also used by, later for say, I think someone was giving me an example, if it is a particular child, okay? So how that comes to us, it comes in a format of a story or an anecdote shared by other teachers. That, particularly maybe this student learns this way. So it cannot always be calculated or captured through numbers or through criterias. So anecdotes are something that you basically carry forward or you learn from. So here, like if we have to make our observations very holistic, it's just not numbers that we can look at. We also need to look at anecdotes and stories. Yeah. And I'm sure, like, since all of you are teachers, all of you are working with children, you also are in the process. So you all have a lot of stories. It just number for say at the end of each year when there is a classroom observation outcome that comes, it doesn't capture necessarily all the things that has happened. There are also a lot of stories that gets left out. Our invite as a group to you is also focus on that stories, focus on those anecdotes. And how do we do that? To learn more about that, we are going to look at a video right now, and see how, like, I want all of you to observe when this video is going on, how this particular teacher is collecting stories or collecting anecdotes. Yeah. So we'll look at a video, which I will play for all of you. And I want all of you to also look at ये टीचर कैसे stories collect कर रहे हैं अपने classroom में through the way she is teaching. Yeah. Okay, I'll now play the video. Please let me know if you can hear the sounds.
Welcome. In this short presentation, I will introduce you to the use of anecdotal
Can you
records
hear?
as one way to document your observations of children in your classroom. The National Center on Quality Teaching and Learning uses the House framework to illustrate the effective everyday practices that support school readiness for all children. Ongoing child assessment is an essential feature.
Pratyay, we can't hear. Maybe you need to unmute yourself.
You can't hear? Okay.
Just get like 10 seconds back.
Okay.
The
Can you
use
hear
of
now?
anecdotal records is one
Yes,
way to
just
collect
don't mute yourself.
about children's development and learning. These records or notes are one way to document your observations. In addition, collecting anecdotal records is an example of authentic assessment. The assessment information is collected in real-life learning experiences and activities. Playground. Let's listen to teachers talk about how they collect and use anecdotal records in their own classrooms.
And he put it away. That was very nice. We do take anecdotal records. Lots of teachers use labels because they're easy to keep in your pockets or keep on the counter. Draw a line. Draw a line. A. And generally what I do is I carry around a little clipboard and I place these stickers on them. And each area is listed so I know what I need for that child specifically for this tool. So I go around and throughout the month I'm collecting information on the children. And so basically the teachable moments or the observations that I do, I'm jotting down this information, I'm sticking it on here. So I only have to do it one time. So I write it on the sticker and then I'll just come and place it where it belongs in our observation. Hey, see ya! There you go.
Teachers have figured out all sorts of ways to take anecdotal records in their busy classrooms. Teachers use clipboards and notepads, sticky notes, and mailing labels, just to name a few. Regardless, the note needs to include some basic information: the child's name or initials, the date, the time, and the setting. A clear description of the observation and the name of the observer. Always include the child's name or initials and the date. You don't want to end up with a pile of notes, but no idea who they were about. You also don't want to think that just 1 or 2 notes will be enough. By collecting anecdotal records on a regular basis, you are creating a record of the child's learning and progress over time. This cycle reminds us that effective teaching and effective ongoing child assessment require that the teacher observe, document observations, interpret their findings, and then use those interpretations or understandings in order to make teaching more purposeful. In this module, we've highlighted the use of anecdotal records or notes as one way to document your observations. But those notes only become valuable when you put them to use. Use the information to plan learning activities and experiences, and then to change those plans as needed to make sure that the child or group of children take full advantage of the learning activities. For more information.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope the video is audible and visible also throughout. Okay, so we saw couple of ways that teachers are collecting stories. Some of them were using clipboards, some of them were using sticky notes to place. And it also like helps one, definitely helps them remember, but also like think from a child's perspective. If my teacher remembers something about me, like something that happened in the previous class or a few months back, the kind of impact that creates on a child's mind, that okay, my teacher sees me, my teacher recognizes me, that's also very, very important as well. I am sure like all of you also do collect your stories as well when you are teaching or when you are observing a classroom, and you all have your best practices. I want all of you to like take the next 1 minute to share a couple of couple of things that you do to collect your stories. How do you collect your stories in your classroom? Could share in the chat box, could also unmute and just share with the group. Okay. Okay. Yes. Usha ma'am,
Can I?
please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Right now I'm working with differently able students actually, but previously for 5 years I worked with different age groups of students. When I observe with the students, I can see within the observation only learning is happening maximum times. So students used to observe different students or different activities, what they are going through, and they are applying those things uh, in their activity, particular activity. That what the story begins with, what can I tell? Like it's very normal lifestyle and normal words or normal things which we are doing in our life. That what been observed by some of the kids, and that what replied back in some other spaces. So that kind of stories I can see within every places. Maybe the normal students, maybe the differently able students, whatever it is. So the repeatedness of one's activity is there on everything. So that can I tell that I can share here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Usha ma'am. I can see beautiful responses in the chat box also, like people going with a sheet with different kinds of things that they want to like hear stories on. They click pictures, they click voice notes. Also just taking notes in general, because that's who we are as teachers. We always take notes of different moments. I think something that I can share from my classroom. So when I was teaching, second year of my teaching was mostly online. So what a lot of time I used to do is as to give my students different kinds of prompts. So some of them will be very comfortable talking in a video, like in front of a phone. Some of them will like share in the audio format. So whatever format that they are comfortable with, they will share a story with me on that prompt. So that used to be like a weekly task. And given that it was pandemic, a lot of them did not have a lot of spaces to share and express. I think this practice of hearing their stories in their own language was really helpful for them, and also for me to collect as well, because it was coming directly from them. So there was no chances of interpretation as well. So these are very like quick things that we can do. And also context, like my students were slightly older, so they could send by themselves. Even if you are teaching, like for say elementary, you can do very small things. You can ask them to draw something and you can collect those as well. So different formats, different expression, doesn't matter. I think it mostly matter in the intention of you collecting their stories. So yeah. Tanya shares, she created a file for each student and added weekly evidence. Great, amazing. So Lagna listens to them, click pictures, also maintains a book of record. Uh, Beautiful. Thank you so much, all of that. Um, we'll now go and I'll quickly take you through a few do's and don'ts, and then I'll hand it over to Srijini for the next part, where in the most practice going to happen. So if we want to really holistically observe and balance number with stories, and I think just keeping the fact of observation that it's facts and it's not opinion, just focus on facts. What you can see, what you can hear, and what you can measure. And sometimes measuring is also not through tools, but measuring by your own experience as well. So it doesn't have to be like a particular tool, but what you can observe, what you can see, what you can sense, just focus on that. Uh, Look for patterns over time. So when you just see same things happening over a period of time, you also start finding patterns, and it's not just one or two incidents. A lot of you spoke about patterns, and just thinking about like these experiences not just from a lens of positivity, but also like challenging incidents. Though there can be incidents which are most challenging, so focus on both. It's just not the good stories that we have to collect, also so-called the bad stories or the challenging stories we need to collect, so that there is a balance and there is a holistic lens that we are holding while observing. Um, Similarly, what we should not do, just not labeling children or not labeling teachers as well. If we are working with teachers, just avoid labeling in general while you are observing, because that is where you start formulating your opinion. Once you label something, that means that is your opinion, right? That's not always the observation. Also, just do not assume, the reasons or intent for any behavior without inquiring them, without knowing from them. If you observe, for say, a disruptive behavior, just go and check what could be the reason of that. So without inquiry, let's not just assume. Yeah. Um, and be very wary of if your judgments are formed based on, we all as teachers, we all are as human beings have personal biases about different things. We come from different life experiences. Just be very aware of, like, while you're observing, you are not forming judgments on the basis of what you are seeing. Yeah. So these are very few do's and don'ts, and I'm sure like you all also have used some of this. Just wanted to like put it out there for all of you. In the next part, what we are going to like, just do is, for example, just a quick example of, how it means on paper. For say, like sometimes we say, very shortly, like looking at a child, we say the child is restless. Uh, in rather like in like just, in sort of in spite of saying that, how can we just state what is we are seeing? So for example, a full sentence like the child moved around in the classroom 3 times in 10 minutes. So it's also adding facts. So it's also building a lot of objectivity for you, so that you are not falling into the trap of judgments, of trap of forming opinions. Yeah. So these are very like standard practices that we all do as teachers. But in the next part, what we are going to think about is how do we add an inclusion lens to it? Like, how do we make sure that it also includes every child in the classroom? And we are going to look at a couple of case studies, scenarios with all of you, and, just do it together. For that, I will hand it over to Shijini.
Thank you, Pratyay. Thank you, everyone, for sharing so honestly. I think last 1 hour mein, we really went deeply into what observation is, and observation को भी हम कैसे different groups में देख सकते हैं, and what are the do's and don'ts. What we are going to do now is get into a very small activity. Till the time I share my screen, you all can take a stretch. I think हम बहुत देर से बैठे हुए हैं, so you can just take a stretch and let me know if my screen is visible. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to do an activity जिसका नाम है Beyond Our Eye or Beyond Your Eye. For this, we all will get into small breakout rooms. हम सब breakout rooms में जाएंगे. And in your breakout room, you will have one case study to discuss. What are you going to discuss about? 2 questions. First, you're going to think about what is happening. उस case study में हो क्या रहा है? What is the scenario? आपको पढ़ के क्या समझ आ रहा है? And second, if you were the teacher in the classroom, what would you do? Right? So 2 questions. One, what is happening? And what would you do as a teacher? Now, I'm going to show you the case studies. I'll request you all to take a photo. We do not have a common WhatsApp group, or else I would have shared screenshots, but I'm going to ask you to take a photo of both the screens. And once you're done taking a photo, you can just give me a thumbs up and I'll share the next set of instructions. These are case study 1, 2, and 3. If you have taken a photo of it, you can give me a thumbs up. Okay, I can see a few thumbs ups coming. I'll wait for 30 more seconds. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Thenka. Okay, thank you, Usha ma'am. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Case number 4 and case number 5. Again, please take a screenshot. Once you're done, show me a thumbs up and I'll give the next set of instructions. Thank you. Okay, I can see 2, 3 thumbs ups. I'll wait for 30 more seconds. Great. Okay. Now, Suhani will put us into breakout rooms. हम सब अलग-अलग breakout room में जाएंगे. And Suhani, I think given the number, we can do 5 breakout rooms. That's okay.
Works.
And depending आप जिस breakout room में है, उस case study को आप पढ़ेंगे. So if I'm in breakout room number 1, I will read case study 1. If I'm in breakout room number 4, I'll read case study 4. And as you're reading, 2 questions. What do you think is happening? And if you were the teacher, what would you do in that case? If the instructions are clear, you can give me a thumbs up. And Suhani, you can open the breakout rooms for the next 5 minutes. Can I ask anyone to repeat the instructions कि हम क्या करने वाले हैं once we go into the breakout room? Any brave soul? You can come off mute and share.
We will go in our breakout rooms. We will read the case study, and then we have to think over the two questions. What do you think is happening, and what would you do as a teacher in that case?
Thank you so much, Palak. Absolutely. So, honey, I think we are good to go and we can open the breakout rooms. We all can also join, no?
Yes.
Bring in, then we also just, whether it's a confidence issue or she's not feeling involved, so should we give her more responsibility in the classroom? So I think we were just brainstorming on those things, and if anybody in my group, would like to share if I missed out on something, but this is something that I could recollect and now share with the larger group. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Group 1. So what I'm hearing is आप लोगों ने ये सोचा maybe it was an issue of confidence and hence what steps you would take to ensure that उस बच्ची में और confidence आए. To share all these are real case studies from the classrooms that we have been a part of as well as from the fellows that we got to know. So अगर मैं बोलूँ इस बच्ची का actual story क्या था? Can I ask anyone else from other than Ginny from group 1 to read this identity of the student? Can I ask? Yeah, go ahead.
The girl belongs to a marginalized caste and has faced exclusion both at school and in her community. She is not confident to speak in English and perceives her opinions as less valued.
Thank you, Vanshika. So this is a story of a student. So what we were thinking was confidence, but वो confidence आ कहाँ से रहा है is because of her social identity. The fact that she comes from a caste which has been marginalized बहुत सालों से, she feels that what she says is not valuable. At the same time, उसको English बोलने में उतना confidence नहीं आता, and class में often most of our discussions happen in English, and hence she feels left behind. So I want you all to remember the identity of the students as we go ahead. We'll come back to how to solve it towards the end of this session. But thank you, Group 1. I'll move to Group 2. Again, what did you discuss? What were the things that were coming up? Anyone from Group 2? Go ahead, Amrut.
थैंक यू। तो वही था कि बच्चा क्यों नहीं सुबह के क्लास में आ रहा है। तो जैसा कि हम लोगों का ऑब्जर्वेशन था और एक्सपीरियंस भी था कि सबसे पहला है तो बच्चे के साथ बात करनी पड़ेगी और ढूंढना पड़ेगा कि रीजन क्या है। हो सकता है कि वो एजुकेशनल हो, कि सुबह के कोई क्लास है जैसे कि मैथ्स है और उसको अच्छा नहीं लगता है या डर है, या फिर कोई ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की दिक्कत है, वो कहीं दूसरी जगह से आता है, वहां पे बस नहीं आती है, या फिर इट्स लाइक मेडिकल की कोई समस्या है क्या, या फिर वर्क कल्चर, क्योंकि यूजुअली हमारे यहाँ पे खेतों में जब रात में लाइट आती है और तब पानी चालू करना होता है तो गन्ने के लिए, तो लाइक 2 से 4 बजे तक रात में लाइट होती है, तो उस वक्त अगर बच्चा जाकर काम करता है तो सुबह उठने में देर हो रही है, तो ऐसा कोई रीजन है क्या। या फिर घर का ऐसा कोई दिक्कत, या फिर कल्चर है कि बहुत लेट वो लोग सोते हैं, किसी का ढाबा है, होटल है, इस टाइप का कुछ है क्या। तो ये उसके साथ बातचीत करना पड़ेगा और तब जाके पता चलेगा, और तब जाके एक डायरेक्शन मिलेगा कि इसको मेडिकल की तरफ लेके जाना है या पेरेंट्स के साथ 1-to-1 करना है, या फिर बस ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, बस उसको आदत है तो फिर उसके ऊपर और तरीके से काम करना है। ओवरऑल सब लोगों का यही एक कुछ पॉइंट्स थे। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Amrut. And picking from आपने जो बोला कि सबसे पहले we have to ask the student, right? And we have to question the student कि क्यों, and then move on. And hence to show that this student is someone जो एक लो इनकम फैमिली से आता है, लाइक अमृत शेयर्ड वन ऑफ द केस, बच्चे को सुबह उठ के काम पे जाना पड़ता है एंड इसीलिए वो आने में उसको लेट हो जाता है. Thank you so much, Group 2. I'll quickly move on to Group 3. The case was that the student avoids participating in physical education activities and वो frequently involved नहीं होता. Anyone from Group 3 who wants to share what did they in the discussion?
I think we didn't have a lot of people that were able to participate. So I'll just share the points that we came up with. So 3 points, like you said, that the student is not participating in physical education classes. One of the things to focus was that it was specifically physical education classes that the child was not showing interest in. So that's a marker to take. The second was that they were uncomfortable in activities where there was gendered teaming, for which we thought that asking the child of which team they would like to go in would be an easy thing, because just from personal experience, I knew that this could be a gender identity related problem. Of course, there are many more things to do to support the child beyond that. Then that they frequently volunteer to stay on the sidelines or volunteer for non-participatory tasks like scoring. And one of the things was that I thought that if the child is themselves asking for something, they should be given that. That could be the first thing to do, that if they're asking to participate in a certain role in whatever activity, let them take on that comfortably.
Thank you so much, Group 3. And what I'm going to pick up here is one, giving agency to the student को जैसे करना है उसको वो करने दे is something that we'll take from this case. And to show that this is like Sharon also said, a gender non-conforming student, and they are not finding the space to be safe enough to share about it, and इसलिए वो avoid कर रहे हैं. Quickly moving on to group number 4, any observation, anything you all want to share?
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, actually, we have discussed about what is the situation is exactly. The child is roaming in and around, like because of one child, he was very active and makes funs on the teacher, and that was the scene about. So that myself also and another my ma'am also told the same, like we will give him the responsibility to take a responsibility about a single student or about the single group, so that he will go on actively working on that, because he needs some attention towards the teacher, and he needs some other like a bit kind of different activities. So we'll make him to take some of the responsibilities to one student or some of the groups, and we'll make him to be a responsible person on that particular place, so that the situation will be cleared maximum times. I think so. So that what we have discussed about.
Thank you, Group 4, for sharing. And what I'm going to take from this case is noting that what has actually happened. So for this student, it was the case where they lost one of their parent, so they were seeking for attention. And here to spot what is the barrier that is coming up and looking into solution की ठीक है ये problem आ रहा है, मैं इस तरीके से solution सोच सकता हूँ, is a way to go about it. Thank you, Group 4. Group 5, quickly, if you would want to share, what were your thoughts?
Hi.
Yes,
Can I
please
go?
go
I'm
ahead.
Dr.
Yes,
Lata.
yes.
Yeah. So here we have a student who used to hesitate to do any written task, and she would take much longer when it came to anything in a writing aspect. But she seemed to be very attentive in the class, and she was understanding, but she required somebody. She used to misunderstand the instructions, so she always waited for somebody to repeat the instruction or to start the task, and then she may join. So we looked at probably the child was low on confidence. And another thing that we looked on was probably the child is good in the listening ability of the child. But when it comes to the doing aspect of the child, that's where the child lacks, because every child has got different capabilities. So we concentrate more on that. And the third aspect was we wanted to know why the child is low on confidence. So we understand the child is low on confidence, but talking to the child, taking her into confidence, giving her the safe space, and trying to understand why she's on low on confidence is how we could be able to help as a teacher to the child. And the fact that she could be a slow learner or something like that, because she couldn't understand the instructions at the first go. So some kids require repeated instructions. So probably that could be one of the reasons. So, we give her more clear, explicit things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lata, and thank you, Group 5, for discussing and looking into the why of it, to share the identity of the student. This student has a mild hearing problem, and hence she couldn't hear the instructions clearly in the first go, and इसीलिए उसको बार-बार repeat करके बोलना होता था. Given all this, the question I want to ask in this group is, we talked about observation in the first half. We talked about facts and not opinions. We again talked of observation in सारे case studies में. What do you think is added into this? Inclusion lens अगर मैं add करूँ तो what is different? If anyone can come off mute, or you can write in the chat box as well, कि what is the difference between observation before and after the lens of inclusion? Okay, thank you, Palak. I can see you have written more empathy responses. Thinuka ma'am, please go ahead, share.
I think after including the lens of inclusion, जहाँ तक मुझे लगता है, observation के वक्त we also develop empathy for the child or for the person who we are observing for. कि I think उसमें हम वो why aspect भी डिटेक्ट करते हैं कि क्यों ऐसा ये कर रहे हैं. जहां तक किड्स के मामले में हो, I believe कि if we are observing a child like who is lonely या फिर वो बात नहीं कर रहा है, तो एक तरह का एम्पैथी आता है और एक तरह का अंडरस्टैंडिंग हम डेवलप करना चाहते हैं कि क्यों ये ऐसा है करके. तो या
Thank you, and spot on, like all of you shared. Observation, sirf we were focusing on what, right? We were only talking about facts, but once we include inclusion, we are also looking into why, and we are looking into कि वो reason क्या है, कारण क्या है उस बच्चे का उस what के लिए. And with that, I'm quickly going to share हमारा framework that we have made at E4E for observation. And this is not something new, ये आप लोगों ने बोला है. This has come from the discussion that you all were doing in your breakout rooms. The first is L, which is looking for patterns. कोई recurring behavior, कोई particular pattern जो आप देख रहे हो उस student में or within groups. And once you recognize, and anecdotal observation यहाँ बहुत काम आएगा, because once you're noting those stories, once you're noting those facts, it will be there in your diary to go to again and again. And once you look for patterns, you engage with them through empathy, right? Before forming an opinion or before an inference, आप उनसे why पूछते हो कि ये क्यों हो रहा है. And you engage with this child, and I think Amrut said a very nice word that आप पहले पूछते हैं before thinking कि ठीक है आंसर क्या होगा. And once you have looked for patterns, once you have engaged and asked why, you note that okay, these are the observations without stereotyping or labeling, and spot barriers कि potential challenges क्या हो रहे हैं. Then think of, okay, is this a medical ground? Is this a family issue? Is this an issue with the learning environment? and then note ki, okay, these are the problems that are coming up. Now, the lens framework is something that you can use in your everyday classroom. You can use it with your teachers as well, as you're working as teachers coach. And it is something जो नया नहीं है. It's just a framework to give more structure to our words. I think this is just it. Uh, with that, I would love for Pratyay to do the closing. I think
Yeah, you
I'll
can
stop
share
sharing
this,
the
keep
screen.
sharing the screen, Srijini, if that is
I'll share screen. Yeah.
Yes, we will definitely share the videos. We want to quickly just wanted to wrap up. We will also share the PPT so that you have access to the lens framework as well. Um, we wanted to close the space with a quick reflection activity for all of you. It's an independent thing. We want you to think about 3 things that you probably learned today. Could also be lesser than that, more than that as well. 2 questions that you are leaving this space with, and 1 thing that you will change in your practice as an educator, teacher coach, teacher trainer, whatever capacity you are working. So 3 things you learned, 2 questions that you have, and 1 thing that you will change in your current practice. Some of you can also unmute and share, and others can write in the chat box. Yes, Amrut, please share.
Thank you. तो ऑब्जर्वेशन में वो जिंदापन कैसे लाना है कि ड्राइनेस शुरू में था, पैरामीटर्स के साथ हम लोग काम कर रहे थे, और उसके बाद में यहाँ पे कुछ जिंदापन उसमें लाना है कि सब समझना है, दोनों तरह की स्टोरी समझने का। तो वो एक मुझे लगा कि एक अच्छे तरीके से समझ में आया। एक क्वेश्चन जो मुझे चैलेंजिंग लगता है कि बच्चे क्लासरूम में लाइक 25-30 ऐसे रहेंगे, तो हमारा एजुकेशन सिस्टम वहाँ पे जो अवेलेबल टाइम है और उसके साथ ये 1-to-1 और पर्सनल किस तरीके से हो पाएगा, वो एक मुझे बस चैलेंज लगता है। और डेफिनेटली ये ऑब्जर्वेशन के अलग अलग जो क्राइटेरिया है, ये डेफिनेटली मैं अपने रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस में यूज करूंगा। थैंक यू।
Got it. Thank you so much. Others, you can also, I can see some people shared, they learned about the lens framework, type of observations, story play crucial role, relationship between observation and inclusion. Okay. Some of us didn't think about open-ended observation or anecdotal observations before this. So they will also think about that. As you all are sharing your learning, just wanted to close this space with a very short exit ticket that we have. It's a Google form that we want you to go through and fill. This will also help us just to capture how much you could learn, and how can we design the next session. In the next session, we will, like today it was more conceptual, though we also looked at a framework. But in the next session, we will also be moving towards more practice and looking at how do we actually practice, observing with the inclusion lens in the classroom. Yeah, keeping all the identities of children in mind. Yeah, thank you so much. Please fill the exit ticket. The link is currently shared in the chat box.
Pratyay, before we close, we also have a very short survey poll. I'll just be circulating that. Request you to fill that in as well.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. Before you go, there is a poll on your screen. If you can just take a few seconds to fill it out, that'll really help us.